The first thing Lieutenant Emma Hayes noticed when she woke up was that she couldn't move. At first, she thought she was still dreaming. The second thing she noticed was warmth. A lot of warmth. The third thing she noticed was fur. Emma slowly opened one eye, then the other, and immediately froze. Predator cubs. Everywhere. One was draped across her legs like a living blanket. Another had somehow curled against her stomach. A third was sleeping on her shoulder, its tiny claws tangled in her shirt, and the smallest one of all was resting directly on top of her head. Emma stared at the ceiling. What? The tiny cub on her head released a sleepy chirp. Around her, the others shifted slightly but didn't wake. Emma carefully looked around her quarters. The door was still locked. The window remained sealed. Nothing appeared damaged, which somehow made the situation even stranger, because there were currently 4 highly protected alien predator cubs sleeping in her bed, and nobody knew they were here. This is going to be a problem. As if sensing her voice, one cub opened a golden eye. It looked at her, yawned, then snuggled closer. Emma sighed. Yep. Definitely a problem. Unfortunately, the station was about to discover an even bigger one. Orbital Station Horizon housed nearly 30,000 residents, scientists, engineers, military personnel, diplomats, and, for the first time in history, a nursery containing young Varkan cubs. The Varkan were among the most feared predators in explored space. Adults stood nearly 3 meters tall. Their reflexes were legendary. Their senses surpassed most known species. Even veteran soldiers treated them carefully. Their cubs were smaller, much smaller, and somehow even more dangerous. Not because they were aggressive, but because they were curious. A curious Varkan cub could accidentally dismantle equipment, open security doors, or disappear into ventilation systems, which explained why the entire station entered panic mode. Exactly 12 minutes after Emma woke up, sirens echoed across Horizon. Emergency lights flashed. Personnel flooded communication channels. Security teams mobilized instantly. 4 cubs were missing. The same 4 currently sleeping peacefully in Emma's bed. Commander Reyes nearly exploded. How do 4 predator cubs disappear from a secured nursery? Nobody answered, mostly because nobody knew. The station's chief scientist looked exhausted. We've checked every camera, and there are no recordings. The command center fell silent. No recordings? The scientist rubbed his eyes. It's like they simply vanished. Commander Reyes hated mysteries, especially predator-related mysteries. Find them. We're trying. Try harder. Meanwhile, Emma faced a different challenge, getting out of bed without waking 4 sleeping predators. The largest cub stretched across her legs. His name was Bristle, a black-furred male with silver markings. The cub weighed nearly 50 kilograms. The others weren't much smaller. Emma had spent months helping care for the nursery. The cubs knew her, apparently trusted her enough to break into her room during the night. The question was why. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Emma immediately froze. The cubs froze too. Interesting. Then all 4 heads lifted simultaneously. The door opened. Emma's roommate, Jenna, stepped inside. Anne screamed. The cubs screamed too. Jenna jumped backward. Emma nearly fell out of bed. For 3 seconds, absolute chaos filled the room. Then Bristle recognized Jenna. The cub tilted his head. Jenna stared. The cub stared back. Finally, Jenna pointed. Emma, yes? Why are there predator cubs in your bed? I was hoping you'd tell me. 10 minutes later, Commander Reyes arrived personally, along with 12 armed security officers and 3 terrified scientists. The entire group crowded outside Emma's quarters. Nobody wanted to enter, everyone wanted to see. Emma opened the door. The cubs immediately rushed toward her legs, using her as a shield. The scientists looked stunned. One officer actually lowered his weapon. Commander Reyes blinked, then blinked again. They chose your room? Emma nodded. Apparently. The commander looked at the cubs. The cubs looked back. Then Bristle walked directly to Emma and sat on her foot. Possessively, the commander sighed. Of course, nobody missed the meaning. The station had spent months building advanced habitats, specialized enrichment centers, state-of-the-art sleeping chambers. The cubs ignored all of them. Instead, they had chosen a human lieutenant's bed. The mystery deepened over the following days. Every night the cubs returned. Every single night, security upgraded the nursery. The cubs escaped. Scientists increased monitoring. The cubs vanished. Engineers installed new locks. The cubs somehow bypassed them. Nobody could explain it. Each morning security found them sleeping with Emma, usually piled on top of her, occasionally using her as a pillow. The phenomenon became the station's favorite topic. People placed bets. Scientists argued. Even diplomats started asking questions. Emma found it increasingly ridiculous. Then the truth emerged, and everything changed. Dr. Velen was the first to notice. Unlike most researchers, Velen specialized in Varkan behavior. He spent weeks studying recordings, observing interactions, analyzing patterns. Eventually, he requested a meeting. The entire command staff attended. Emma's attended too, along with 4 cubs, because separating them had become nearly impossible. Dr. Velen activated a holographic display. "I believe we've misunderstood the situation." Commander Reyes crossed his arms. "Explain." The scientist nodded. "What do most species do when frightened as infants?" The commander frowned. "They seek safety." "Correct." The display changed, showing images of young Varkan in their natural habitat. The room became quiet. The cubs weren't sleeping alone. They were sleeping piled together around adults. Protected, hide, safe. Dr. Velen pointed at the image. In the wild, Varkan cubs sleep surrounded by trusted guardians. Emma felt her stomach drop. Suddenly everything made sense. The scientist continued. When these cubs arrived on Razizan, they lost their families. Nobody spoke. They received food. Another image appeared. They received medical care. Another. They received shelter. Another. But they never received what they instinctively needed most. The final image appeared. A Varkan mother surrounded by sleeping cubs. Security. Silence filled the room. Dr. Velen looked toward Emma. The cubs chose Lieutenant Hayes because she became their definition of safety. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even Commander Reyes seemed affected. The scientist smiled softly. They weren't escaping the nursery. He paused. They were going home. The revelation spread throughout Horizon, and for the first time, people stopped laughing about the situation, because it wasn't funny anymore. It was heartbreaking. 4 young predators had crossed half the station every night, searching for comfort, matching for protection, matching for family, and somehow, they had found it in a human. Emma never expected the story to affect her, but it did, more than she admitted. That night she visited the nursery. The cubs immediately surrounded her. Bristle pressed against her side. Another cub climbed into her lap. Emma sat quietly among them, thinking eventually. Dr. Velen joined her. "You understand now?" Emma nodded. "Yeah." The scientist smiled. "They trust you completely." Emma looked down at the sleeping cubs. For the first time she realized the responsibility that trust carried, and she intended to honor it. Months passed. The cubs grew rapidly. Soon they were twice their original size, then 3 times, then larger still. Yet some habits never changed. Every evening they visited Emma. Every evening they demanded attention. And every evening they left only after receiving affection. The station eventually adapted. New sleeping areas were designed. Family-style environments replaced sterile enclosures. Stress levels among the cubs dropped dramatically. Health improved. Behavior improved. Everything improved because someone finally understood what the cubs had been trying to communicate all along. 2 years later, disaster struck. A reactor malfunction triggered station-wide evacuations. Emergency systems activated instantly. Thousands rushed toward evacuation zones. Confusion spread everywhere. During the chaos, a transport corridor collapsed. Dozens became trapped, including several children. Panic erupted. Rescue crews struggled to reach them. Time ran out. Then something incredible happened. The now-grown Varkan juveniles arrived. The same cubs. The same 4. Without hesitation they entered the damaged corridor, ignoring danger, ignoring smoke, ignoring collapsing structures. Witnesses later described the scene as unbelievable. The predators worked beside rescue teams, moving debris, locating survivors, protecting trapped civilians, and leading frightened children to safety. They saved dozens of lives that day, including Commander Reyes, including scientists, including station workers, including people who once feared the station. Years later, Horizon Station celebrated its 50th anniversary. A memorial hall displayed countless historical moments, great discoveries, famous missions, heroic rescues. One exhibit attracted more visitors than any other. A simple photograph, a sleeping human, 4 predator cubs piled on top of her. Beneath it rested a plaque. It read, "Trust is not earned through strength. It is earned through kindness." These cubs crossed an entire station seeking safety. What they found changed 2 species forever. Visitors often stopped there longest. Some smiled. Some laughed. Many became emotional because the image represented something bigger than humans or predators. It represented understanding, the courage to care, the willingness to see beyond fear. Emma Hayes never considered herself a hero. She never saved planets, never commanded fleets, never became famous. She simply opened her heart when 4 frightened cubs needed somewhere safe to sleep. Yet, that simple act transformed countless lives, and every person on Horizon remembered the morning that left the station speechless. The morning everyone discovered predator cubs sleeping peacefully in a human's bed. The morning fear lost and trust won.